I was sneaking through the gates of the biggest mansion I had ever seen at 2 in the morning, trying to steal a single white rose for my mother's grave, when a man's voice behind me said, "You know there are easier ways to get flowers." And I froze, thinking I was about to get arrested. But the next morning, when I looked out my window, there was a limousine waiting for me, with a note that would change my entire life. My name is Maya Santos. I'm 25 years old, and the night I tried to steal that rose was the 3rd anniversary of my mother's death, and I was so desperate and so broke and so tired of everything being impossible that breaking into someone's garden seemed like the only option I had left. Let me start from the beginning, because nothing about what happened that night makes any sense without understanding how I ended up alone and desperate in Los Angeles with no money and no hope. I grew up in a small town in New Mexico called Socorro, population about 8,000 people. My mother, Rosa, raised me by herself after my father walked out when I was 2 years old. I never knew him, never even saw a picture of him. It was always just me and my mom against the world. My mother worked as a housekeeper at a motel, cleaning rooms for minimum wage. She worked 6 days a week, sometimes 7 when they needed extra help. We lived in a tiny apartment above a laundromat that smelled like detergent and dryer sheets all the time. The apartment had one bedroom that my mother gave to me while she slept on a pull-out couch in the living room. We didn't have much, but my mother made sure I never felt poor. She would save up to buy me books from thrift stores. She would make my favorite meals on my birthday, even though it meant eating rice and beans for a week afterward. She would tell me stories at night about the places she dreamed we would go someday. Paris and London and New York City, places that seemed like they existed in a different universe from our tiny apartment in Socorro. My mother had come to the United States from Mexico when she was 18. She crossed the border illegally because her family was starving and there was no work and no future for her back home. She worked her way up from nothing, learning English from library books and saving every penny she could. She always told me that I was her reason for everything, that she worked so hard because she wanted me to have opportunities she never had. She wanted me to go to college, to have a career, to build a life better than the one she could give me. I was a good student. I got straight A's. I worked hard because I knew how much my mother sacrificed for me. I wanted to make her proud. When I was 17, I got accepted to UCLA with a partial scholarship. It wasn't a full ride, but it was something. My mother cried when I got the acceptance letter. She hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. "You're going to do amazing things, mija," she said. "You're going to be somebody." I moved to Los Angeles for college, and it was overwhelming. The city was huge and loud and expensive. My scholarship covered tuition, but not living expenses. I got a job working at a coffee shop near campus, 20 hours a week. My mother sent me money when she could, even though I told her not to. I knew she was working extra shifts to help me, and it killed me, but I also needed the help. I was barely making it as it was. During my sophomore year, my mother called me on a Tuesday evening. I remember it was Tuesday because I had just gotten out of my sociology class, and I was walking across campus when my phone rang. "Mija," she said, and I could hear something wrong in her voice immediately. She sounded weak, tired. "What's wrong?" I asked, stopping in the middle of the path. "I went to the doctor today," she said. "They found something." "Found what?" "Cancer," she said. "In my lungs." The word hit me like a physical blow. "Cancer? But you don't smoke," I said stupidly. "The doctor said it could be from secondhand smoke," she said. "From all the years cleaning motel rooms where people smoked." I felt the world tilting. "How bad is it?" "Stage 4, she said quietly. "They said it's spread. They can try treatment, but—" She didn't finish the sentence, but I understood. Stage 4. That meant terminal. That meant there was no cure. I flew home the next day. I took a leave of absence from school. My mother tried to tell me not to, that I should stay in Los Angeles and focus on my education. But I couldn't. I couldn't be in Los Angeles knowing she was sick and alone. The next 6 months were the hardest of my life. My mother went through chemotherapy that made her so sick she could barely get out of bed. She lost her hair, lost weight, lost the light in her eyes. I took care of her. I fed her when she could eat. I held her hair when she threw up. I cleaned her when she was too weak to do it herself. I worked whatever jobs I could find to pay for her medications because she didn't have insurance and the bills were enormous. I worked at a grocery store and a gas station and cleaned houses, just like my mother had done. I barely slept. I lost weight. I felt like I was drowning, but I couldn't stop because my mother needed me. She died on a Wednesday morning in February. I was holding her hand. She looked at me and smiled. This tiny, sad smile, and said, "I'm so proud of you, mija. I'm so proud." And then she was gone. She was 52 years old. She should have had decades left. She should have gotten to see me graduate and get married and have kids. She should have gotten to travel to all those places she dreamed about. But instead, she died in a crappy apartment in Socorro with nothing but medical debt and a daughter who couldn't save her. After she died, I had nothing. The medical bills had eaten through what little savings she had. The funeral costs took everything I had managed to save from working. I was 21 years old and I had about $300 to my name and a mountain of grief I didn't know how to process. I couldn't go back to UCLA. I had missed too much school and I didn't have money for living expenses. I lost my scholarship. I lost my place in the dorms. I lost everything. I stayed in Socorro for a month trying to figure out what to do, but there was nothing there for me. No family, no job prospects, no future. So I went back to Los Angeles. I thought maybe I could work for a while, save up some money, and eventually go back to school. I found a room in an apartment in East LA that I shared with 4 other people. It cost me $600 a month, which was more than I could afford, but cheaper than anything else I could find. I got a job waitressing at a diner, working 50-hour weeks. The work was hard, and the tips were bad, but it was something. 3 years passed like that. 3 years of working constantly and barely making rent. 3 years of living in a city that felt like it was designed to break people like me. 3 years of carrying the weight of my mother's death and my own failed dreams. I tried to visit my mother's grave once a month. She was buried in Socorro, and the drive from Los Angeles was about 12 hours round trip. I would drive through the night because I couldn't afford a hotel. I would spend an hour at her grave, telling her about my life, about how much I missed her, about how sorry I was that I couldn't save her. And I would leave her flowers, usually just cheap carnations from the grocery store because that was all I could afford. The 3rd anniversary of her death was on a Wednesday. I had planned to drive to Socorro that weekend, but my car broke down 2 days before. The mechanic said it would cost $800 to fix, and I didn't have $800. I barely had $80. I felt desperate. I needed to visit my mother's grave. I needed to leave her flowers. It was a ritual, the only way I knew how to honor her memory. But I couldn't afford to rent a car, and I couldn't afford flowers anyway. That Tuesday night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my mother, about how she had died with nothing, about how I was failing her memory by being just as broke and just as stuck as she had been. I got up at midnight and walked out of my apartment. I didn't have a plan. I just needed to move, to do something. I walked for an hour through the empty streets of Los Angeles. It was strange being out that late. The city felt different, quieter, almost peaceful. I ended up in a wealthy neighborhood in the hills, massive houses behind gates, luxury cars and driveways. The kind of place where people had more money than I would make in a lifetime. I was walking past one of these mansions when I saw the garden. It was visible through the iron gates. Roses. Hundreds of them in every color. White and red and pink and yellow. They were the most beautiful flowers I had ever seen. And I thought about my mother, about how much she loved flowers, about how she would buy herself a single rose on her birthday every year as a treat, about how, when she died, I had put roses on her casket. I wanted to leave her a rose, a beautiful white rose like the ones in this garden. I didn't think about whether it was right or wrong. I just acted. The gate had a keypad lock, but it was old, and one of the bars was bent enough that I could squeeze through if I really tried. I sucked in my stomach and pushed through the gap. It scraped my ribs, but I made it. The garden was even more incredible up close. The roses were perfect, like something out of a magazine. I walked to the white roses and chose one, the biggest, most perfect white rose I had ever seen. I pulled out the pocket knife I carried for protection and carefully cut the stem. I was about to leave when I heard a voice behind me. You know there are easier ways to get flowers. I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. Slowly, I turned around. There was a man standing about 10 feet away. He was probably in his mid-30s, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, like he had just woken up. He was tall, with dark hair, and the kind of face that would be handsome if I wasn't so terrified. I started, but no words came out. "You're trespassing," he said. He didn't sound angry exactly, just matter of fact. I know, I said. "I'm sorry. I looked down at the rose in my hand. I needed a flower." "So you broke into my garden to steal one?" he said. "When you put it like that, it sounds really bad," I said. "That's because it is really bad," he said. "But I have a feeling there's a story here. I could call the police right now." "I know," I said. "Please don't. I'll put the rose back. I'll leave. I won't ever come back." He studied me for a long moment. "Why did you risk breaking into someone's property for a single rose?" he asked. "For my mother," I said. "It's the anniversary of her death tomorrow. I was supposed to visit her grave, but my car broke down, and I don't have money for flowers, and I'm so tired of being broke and powerless that I thought breaking into your garden to steal a single rose would somehow make me feel less like a complete failure." The words came out in a rush, and I felt embarrassed as soon as I said them. This stranger didn't need to hear about my problems. "I should go," I said. "Thank you for not calling the police." "Wait," he said. "How were you planning to get this rose to your mother's grave if your car is broken and she's buried somewhere far enough that you can't walk?" "I wasn't," I admitted. "I was just going to keep it. Maybe press it in a book or something, just so I had something to mark the day." "That's not the same as visiting her grave," he said. "No," I said, "but it's all I can do." He was quiet again. Then he said, "Give me your address." "What?" "Your address," he said. "I want to help you." "I don't need charity," I said, probably more defensively than I should have. "I'm not offering charity," he said. "I'm offering kindness. There's a difference." "I don't understand." "Just give me your address," he said. "Please." I hesitated. Then I gave it to him. I don't know why. Maybe because I was too tired to argue. Maybe because something in his voice made me think I could trust him. He pulled out his phone and typed something. "Okay," he said. "You should go home now. It's late." "That's it?" I asked. "That's it," he said. "Take the rose, go home, get some sleep." "But just trust me," he said. I didn't know what else to do, so I left. I squeezed back through the gate with my stolen rose and walked back to East LA. The walk took almost 2 hours. By the time I got home, the sun was starting to come up. I put the rose in a glass of water and collapsed on my mattress. I slept until noon. When I woke up, I looked at the rose and thought about Alexander Cross and wondered if I had dreamed the whole thing. Then I looked out my window and saw it. A limousine. A black limousine parked in front of my building. I thought maybe it was there for someone else. There were 4 other apartments in my building, but then I saw a man in a driver's uniform get out and walk to our front door. I heard him knock. My roommate answered and I heard muffled conversation. Then my roommate was at my door. "Maya," she said, "there's someone here for you." "Who?" "I don't know," she said, "but he's wearing a suit and he says he's here to take you somewhere." I went downstairs in my pajama pants and an old t-shirt, feeling confused and underdressed. The driver was waiting in the hallway. "Miss Santos?" he said. "Yes?" "Mr. Cross sent me," he said. "There's a car waiting to take you to your mother's grave, if you're ready." I stared at him. "What?" "Mr. Cross arranged transportation," he said. "The car will take you to Socorro to visit your mother and bring you back, if you like." "I don't understand," I said. "Why would he do that?" "Mr. Cross said to tell you that everyone deserves to honor their loved ones," he said, "and that you shouldn't have to break into gardens to do it." I felt tears starting again. This couldn't be real. He sent a limousine to take me to my mother's grave, all the way to Socorro and back? That's like 12 hours of driving. Mr. Cross said, "Time is not a concern," he said. "If you'd like to go, you can go now or later today, whatever works for you." "I need to get dressed," I said. "Take your time," he said. "I'll wait." I ran upstairs and changed into clean clothes. I grabbed the white rose from the glass of water. I left a note for my roommate saying I would be back tonight. Then I went down to the limousine. The driver opened the door for me and I climbed into the back. The interior was incredible. Leather seats, a mini fridge, a television. I felt like I was in a movie. We drove for 6 hours to Socorro. I spent most of the drive staring out the window trying to process what was happening. Why would a stranger do this for me? What did Alexander Cross want? But I couldn't figure it out. The driver pulled up to the cemetery and waited while I walked to my mother's grave. It was a simple headstone. Rosa Santos, beloved mother. There wasn't room for anything else. I knelt down and placed the white rose on her grave. "Hi, Mom," I said. "I'm sorry I couldn't visit last month. Things have been hard, but I'm here now." I told her about my life, about how much I missed her, about how I was trying so hard but felt like I was failing, about how I wish she was still here to tell me what to do. I sat there for an hour. Just me and my mother's grave and the white rose I had stolen. When I was ready, I walked back to the limousine. The driver took me home. We didn't arrive back in Los Angeles until almost midnight. I was exhausted emotionally and physically. The driver opened my door and handed me an envelope. "Mr. Cross asked me to give you this," he said. I took the envelope and went upstairs. My roommate was already asleep. I sat on my mattress and opened the envelope. Inside was a note written in neat handwriting. "Maya, I hope you were able to visit your mother today. I'm sorry for your loss. Losing a parent is one of the hardest things we go through in life. I also wanted to extend an opportunity. My company is hiring for an administrative assistant position. The work is fairly basic, scheduling meetings, managing correspondence, organizing files, but it pays $60,000 a year plus benefits. If you're interested, come to this address tomorrow at 10 a.m. and ask for me. If you're not interested, that's okay too. Either way, I hope you got to honor your mother's memory today. Alexander Cross." I read the note 3 times. $60,000 a year. That was more than double what I was making at the diner, maybe triple. I looked up Alexander Cross on my phone. He was the CEO of Cross Industries, a major real estate development company in Los Angeles. He was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and he was offering me a job. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about whether this was real or some kind of scam. But what kind of scam involved sending a limousine to take someone to visit their mother's grave? The next morning, I put on the nicest clothes I owned, a black skirt and white blouse that I wore to job interviews. I took the bus to the address on the note. It was a high-rise building in downtown Los Angeles, gleaming glass and steel, the kind of building I had never been inside. I walked into the lobby feeling completely out of place. The security guard at the desk looked at me skeptically. "Can I help you?" he asked. "I'm here to see Alexander Cross," I said. "Do you have an appointment?" "He told me to come at 10, I said. "It's 5 minutes to 10. "Your name?" "Maya Santos." He picked up a phone and spoke quietly. Then he hung up and looked at me with a different expression, almost surprised. "Take the elevator to the 20th floor, he said. "Someone will meet you there." I rode the elevator up, feeling like I might throw up from nerves. When the doors opened, a woman was waiting. She was probably in her 40s, wearing an expensive suit and heels. "Ms. Santos," she said, "I'm Jennifer Kim, Mr. Cross's executive assistant. He's expecting you." I followed her down a hallway lined with modern art and into a large office. Alexander Cross was sitting behind a desk, working on a computer. He looked up when I walked in and smiled. "Maya," he said, "you came." "Yes," I said. "Thank you for yesterday, for the car and the driver and everything. It was incredibly kind." "You're welcome," he said. "Were you able to visit your mother?" "Yes," I said. "It meant a lot to me." "Good," he said. "Please sit." I sat in one of the chairs across from his desk. "So," he said, "are you interested in the position?" "I don't understand why you're offering it," I said. "You don't know me." "I know enough," he said. "I know you cared enough about your mother to risk breaking into my property to get her a flower. I know you walked hours in the middle of the night because you couldn't afford transportation. I know you're working a job that doesn't pay enough to live on. And I know you could use an opportunity." "But why would you give me one?" I asked. "You could hire anyone." "I could," he said, "but I'm offering it to you. Sometimes people just need a chance. And I believe in giving chances to people who deserve them." I felt overwhelmed. This was too much, too fast. "What would I actually be doing?" I asked. "Administrative work, mostly," he said. "You'd work with Jennifer to manage my schedule. You'd handle correspondence and phone calls. You'd organize meetings and travel. You'd coordinate with our various departments. It's not glamorous work, but it's important." "Do I need special qualifications?" I asked. "Because I don't have a college degree. I had to drop out." "I know," he said. "Jennifer told me she looked into your background. You were a straight-A student at UCLA until you had to leave to take care of your mother. That tells me you're smart and capable, and you know how to work hard. That's what I need." "What about experience?" I asked. "I've only ever worked in restaurants and coffee shops." "You'll learn," he said. "Jennifer will train you. She's been with me for 10 years, and she's excellent at what she does." I looked at Jennifer, who smiled at me encouragingly. "When would I start?" I asked. "Whenever you're ready," he said. "Tomorrow, if you want. Give notice at your current job and start here when you can." "Okay," I said. "Yes. Thank you." "Welcome to Cross Industries," he said. Over the next few weeks, my life changed dramatically. I gave notice at the diner. My manager was shocked, but happy for me. "You deserve better than this place," he said. "Go do something great." I started working at Cross Industries, and it was overwhelming. The office was beautiful, modern and clean with huge windows overlooking the city. Everyone was professional and busy and seemed to know exactly what they were doing. I felt completely out of my depth. But Jennifer was patient. She taught me how to use the scheduling software and the phone system. She showed me how to format emails and organize files. She explained the structure of the company and who the key people were. Alexander was kind but professional. He treated me like a real employee, not like a charity case. He gave me tasks and expected me to complete them competently. He didn't hover or micromanage. He trusted me to figure things out. And I did. I learned fast. I asked questions when I needed to. I worked hard to prove I belonged there. Within a month, I felt more confident. I was handling Alexander's schedule, coordinating with department heads, organizing meetings. I was good at it, better than I expected. The salary was life-changing, $60,000 a year. After taxes, that was about $3,800 a month, more money than I had ever had. I could afford a better apartment. I could afford groceries without worrying about the cost. I could afford to fix my car. I could even start saving money. But the best part was the health insurance. For the first time since college, I had health insurance. I could go to the doctor without worrying about the cost. I could get my teeth cleaned. I could take care of myself. 6 months after I started working there, Alexander called me into his office. "How are you settling in?" he asked. "Really well," I said. "I love the work. Everyone's been so welcoming." "Good," he said. "You've done excellent work, Maya. Jennifer tells me you've exceeded her expectations." "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot." He leaned back in his chair. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "What happened with your college degree?" he asked. "I know you had to drop out to take care of your mother. Do you ever think about going back?" "All the time," I admitted. "But I can't afford it." "What if you could?" he said. "What do you mean?" "Cross Industries has a tuition assistance program," he said. "We'll pay for employees to take college courses, up to full tuition at accredited universities." "Really?" I said. "Really," he said. "If you wanted to go back to UCLA and finish your degree, we could arrange that. You'd need to maintain certain grades and continue working, but it's possible." I felt tears starting. I had thought that dream was dead, that I would never get to finish college. "You'd do that for me?" I asked. "The program is available to all employees," he said. "You're not getting special treatment, but yes, I think you should take advantage of it." Over the next year, I did. I enrolled at UCLA part-time, taking 2 classes per semester. I worked full-time at Cross Industries and went to school at night and on weekends. It was hard, but not impossible. Not like it had been before when I was working 3 jobs and taking care of my dying mother. This was manageable. Alexander was supportive. He made sure my work schedule accommodated my class schedule. He never complained when I needed to leave early for a lecture or work from home because I had an exam. My relationship with Alexander changed gradually. At first, he was just my boss, someone I respected and was grateful to, but didn't know well. But over time, we started talking more. He would ask about my classes, about what I was studying, about my plans for the future. I would ask about his work, about his life, about how he had built his company. I learned that he had grown up in Los Angeles, that his father had been a construction worker and his mother a teacher, that he had worked his way through college and business school, that he had started Cross Industries with money he borrowed from friends and family, that he had built it into one of the most successful development companies in the city through hard work and smart decisions. He wasn't born wealthy. He had earned everything he had. That made me respect him even more. One evening, about 18 months after I started working for him, Alexander asked if I wanted to get dinner. "Not a work meeting," he said, "just dinner, as friends." I said yes. We went to a nice restaurant in Santa Monica, the kind of place with white tablecloths and wine lists and prices I still couldn't quite wrap my head around, even though I was making good money now. "How are your classes going?" he asked. "Really well," I said. "I'm on track to graduate next spring." "That's incredible," he said. "You should be proud." "I am," I said. "I never thought I'd get to finish college. I thought that dream was dead." "What will you do after you graduate?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "I love working at Cross Industries, but I don't know if I want to be an administrative assistant forever." "What do you want to do?" he asked. I thought about it. "I used to want to work in social services," I said, "helping families who are struggling, people who are in the same situation I was in." "That's important work," he said. "It is," I said, "but I don't know if it's practical." "Why not?" "Because it doesn't pay well," I said. "And I'm finally at a point where I don't have to worry about money constantly. I don't want to go back to being broke." "What if you could do both?" he asked. "Do what you love and not worry about money." "How?" He leaned forward. "I've been thinking about starting a foundation," he said.
something focused on helping low-income families in Los Angeles. Housing assistance, education grants, medical bill support, the things that make the difference between people barely surviving and people thriving. That sounds amazing, I said. I want you to run it, he said. What? I want you to be the director of the Cross Foundation, he said. You'd build it from the ground up, hire staff, set priorities, make decisions about how we allocate resources. You'd be doing exactly the kind of work you just described. I don't have experience running a foundation, I said. You have experience being the person who needs help, he said. That's more important than any degree or certification. You know what it's like to struggle. You know what families need because you lived it. That perspective is what matters. But I haven't even graduated yet, I said. So you'll start after you graduate, he said. Use the next year to finish school and prepare. Think about what kind of foundation you want to build, what causes matter most to you, how to make the biggest impact. I'll provide the funding, you provide the vision. This is too much, I said. Why do you keep doing this? Giving me opportunities I haven't earned. You have earned them, he said. Every single one. You work harder than almost anyone I know. You're smart and dedicated, and you care about things that matter. And you deserve someone to believe in you the way your mother believed in you. I felt tears starting. You barely know me, I said. I know enough, he said. And Maya, I should be honest with you. This isn't just about the foundation. What do you mean? I mean, I care about you, he said. Not just as an employee or as someone I'm trying to help. I care about you as a person, as someone I want to spend time with, someone I think about when I'm not with them. He paused. I didn't plan for this to happen. When I saw you in my garden that night, I just wanted to help someone who was clearly in pain. But over the past year and a half, I've gotten to know you, and I've realized that you're extraordinary. I don't know what to say, I said. You don't have to say anything, he said. I just needed to tell you. And if you don't feel the same way, that's okay. Your job is secure regardless. Nothing has to change. I do feel the same way, I admitted. I have for a while. I just didn't think it was appropriate. Why not? Because you're my boss, I said. Because you've done so much for me already. Because I didn't want you to think I was just grateful or confused. I'm not confused, he said. Are you? No, I said. I care about you too. Then let's see where this goes, he said. No pressure, no expectations, just two people who like each other spending time together. Okay. That was 2 years ago. Alexander and I have been together ever since. We kept it quiet at first, not wanting to deal with office gossip or questions about conflicts of interest, but eventually we stopped hiding. People found out and there was some gossip, but most people were supportive. I graduated from UCLA last year with my degree in social work. The ceremony was emotional. I wore my cap and gown and walked across the stage to get my diploma. Alexander was there in the audience. So were Jennifer and other people from cross industries. I wished my mother could have been there. I wish she could have seen me graduate. But I felt her presence anyway. The Cross Foundation launched 6 months ago. I'm the executive director. We have a staff of 12 people. We provide housing assistance to families facing eviction. We pay medical bills for people drowning in debt. We offer education grants to students who can't afford college. We do exactly the kind of work I wished someone had done for my mother and me. It's the most fulfilling work I've ever done. Every day I meet people who remind me of who I used to be. People who are working themselves to death just to survive. People who are one emergency away from losing everything.
People who have talent and potential but no opportunities. And I get to help them. I get to be the person I needed when I was 21 and drowning in grief and debt. Alexander and I moved in together last year, into a house in the hills not far from the mansion where I stole that rose. The house is beautiful, but not ostentatious. It feels like home in a way nowhere else ever has. Last week, Alexander proposed. We were in the garden, planting roses. White roses, like the one I had stolen. He got down on one knee, right there in the dirt, and pulled out a ring. "Maya Santos," he said. "3 years ago, you broke into my garden to steal a rose for your mother, and you changed my life. You showed me what courage looks like, what real strength looks like. You reminded me why I do the work I do. You made me want to be better. Will you marry me?" I was crying before he finished. "Yes," I said. "Yes, yes, yes." He stood and kissed me, and I thought about that night 3 years ago, desperate and broke and grieving, squeezing through that gate to steal a flower, being caught by a man I thought would call the police, having my entire life change because of one impulsive decision. Sometimes people ask me if I believe in fate, if I think things happen for a reason, and I tell them, I don't know about fate, but I do know that sometimes one moment can change everything. That night, I made a choice to steal that rose. I didn't know who the garden belonged to or what would happen. I was just trying to honor my mother's memory in the only way I could afford. But that choice led me here, to this life, to this man, to this version of myself I never thought possible. My mother always told me I would do amazing things. She believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. I think about her every day. I think about the sacrifices she made for me, the love she showed me even when she was dying, the dreams she had for my future. I wish she could see me now, see what I've become, see that her sacrifices weren't for nothing. I visit her grave every month now. I bring white roses from our garden, the garden where it all started. I tell her about my life, about the foundation and all the families we're helping, about Alexander and our life together, about how happy I am, about how I finally made it. I like to think she knows, that somehow she can see me and she's proud. This morning, I woke up in our house. I made coffee and walked out to the garden. The white roses were blooming, beautiful and perfect. I cut one and put it in a vase. Tomorrow I'll take it to my mother's grave. Tomorrow is her birthday. She would have been 58. I'll tell her about the proposal, about the wedding we're planning, about how I'm finally living the life she dreamed for me. And I'll thank her for everything she sacrificed, for believing in me, for loving me enough to work herself to death so I could have opportunities, for being the reason I never gave up, even when things seemed impossible. My mother used to say that we honor our loved ones not by grieving forever, but by living well, by building lives they would be proud of, by taking the love they gave us and multiplying it by giving it to others. That's what I try to do. Every day at the foundation, when I help a family avoid eviction or pay their medical bills or send their kid to college, I think about my mother, about how I'm doing for others what I wish someone had done for us. That night 3 years ago, when I stole that rose, I thought I was just taking a flower. But I was actually taking a chance that led to meeting Alexander, a chance that led to opportunities I never imagined, a chance that led to this life. Sometimes the smallest actions have the biggest consequences. Sometimes breaking rules leads to breaking through. Sometimes the moments we think will destroy us actually transform us. I broke into a garden and stole a rose, and I found everything I never knew I needed. Did you like my story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect.